Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I didn't think much of it when Elizabeth came back from her conference, smiling. Conferences were part of her job now. Marketing retreats, leadership summits, networking weekends in hotels with neutral art and bad coffee. She used to hate them. Said they were exhausting, fake conversations, name tags, and forced enthusiasm. This time was different. She walked through the door lighter, humming to herself, dragging her suitcase like she'd just returned from something restorative, not work. I noticed it, but I didn't say anything. 13 years of marriage teaches you which moments to observe quietly. Her smile lingered, not the polite kind she used when greeting neighbors, but something private, self-contained. She hugged me, quick but warm, then went straight to the shower. I stood in the kitchen, listening to the water run, telling myself I was overthinking. Elizabeth had always been expressive. Maybe the conference went well. Maybe she finally felt seen at work. I wanted to believe that. That night, she talked more than usual. About speakers, panels, people she met. She laughed easily, touched my arm when she spoke, finished a full glass of wine instead of half. I caught myself relaxing, thinking maybe we'd turn a corner. The last year had been quiet between us. Not hostile, just distant. Routine without intimacy, conversations without depth. That night felt like a reminder of who she used to be. If this moment already feels familiar to you, click like so this story can reach the people who need it. A week later, the first crack appeared. I was loading the dishwasher when her phone buzzed on the counter. She was upstairs on a call. I wasn't snooping. The screen lit up on its own. A message preview from a name I didn't recognize. Just 3 words. Miss you already. No emoji. No context. Just that. My stomach tightened, then loosened as I forced myself to breathe. People miss colleagues, friends, mentors. Conferences create fast bonds. I told myself that too. I didn't mention it. I watched instead. That's what I do. I notice patterns. Elizabeth started taking her phone into the bathroom, turning the screen away when she texted, laughing softly at messages she didn't share. Nothing blatant. Just enough to make me feel slightly out of sync in my own house. 2 weeks later, she told me she was late. Another meeting. She didn't come home until after 10. She smelled like her perfume, stronger than usual, layered over something unfamiliar. I hugged her and felt her stiffen just for a second. Then she relaxed. That second stayed with me. In the comments, tell me honestly, at this point, would you confront her or stay silent and observe? I didn't accuse. I didn't ask to check her phone. I didn't change my behavior. Outwardly, nothing shifted. Inwardly, I was cataloging moments, lining them up, try to see a picture instead of isolated dots. Suspicion isn't loud at first. It's methodical. The test was supposed to be routine. Annual physical, blood work, standard panels. Elizabeth insisted I go first, joking that one of us needed to be responsible. I went in on a Tuesday morning, before work. The nurse drew blood, asked a few questions, sent me on my way. I forgot about it by lunch. The results came faster than expected. An alert on my phone while I was sitting in traffic. I waited until I got home to open it. Sat at the kitchen table, same spot where Elizabeth had told me about her conference stories. Numbers, notes, then a line that didn't make sense at first. I read it again, then again, positive. My heart started pounding, not from fear, but confusion. I hadn't been with anyone else. Not once. Not ever. If one word fits what James is feeling right now, type that word in the comments. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. I thought about the last year, the distance, the smile when she came back, the message, the stiffening hug. Pieces clicked into place with a quiet finality that felt worse than shouting ever could. This wasn't paranoia. This was math. Elizabeth came home an hour later. She kissed my cheek, asked what I wanted for dinner. I told her I wasn't hungry. That was true, but not for the reason she assumed. She kept talking, filling the space. unaware that the ground beneath us had already cracked. That night, I lay awake listening to her breathe, thinking about how quickly a life can change without a single argument, about how betrayal doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives smiling, carrying a conference badge and a suitcase full of lies. If this story stirred something heavy, consider sharing it with someone who understands quiet realizations like this. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed confirmation, not emotion. I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with before I spoke a word. Trust, once broken, doesn't shatter loudly. It fractures slowly, invisibly, until you move the wrong way and feel it cut. By morning, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever conversation was coming, it would end the version of our marriage I thought I still had, and there was no unseeing what I'd seen. I didn't sleep much after that. Morning came without clarity, just resolve. I called my doctor as soon as the office opened, asked for a retest, quietly, clinically. He didn't argue. By noon, I was back in the same chair, same needle, same calm voice telling me it was probably a false positive, but we'd know soon. I nodded, thanked him, left. I didn't tell Elizabeth where I'd gone. The second result came 2 days later. This time, there was no confusion, no margin, no probably. The word sat heavy and undeniable. Confirmed. I closed the app and stared at the wall until the room felt still again. Betrayal has a temperature. Cold, sharp, and oddly clarifying. That evening, Elizabeth was in a good mood. She cooked, put music on, poured wine. She talked about a follow-up trip her team might plan. I watched her from across the table, noticing how easily she occupied the space, how little she noticed mine. When she reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. I let her. I needed this moment intact. After dinner, I asked if we could talk. She sighed, not annoyed, just tired. We sat on the couch. I told her I'd gotten some medical results back. Her posture changed instantly. Barely perceptible, but enough. I said my doctor had questions, that I had questions. I asked her calmly if there was anything she needed to tell me before I spoke. She didn't answer right away. She looked at the floor, then at the TV, then back at me. She said no. That was the moment I knew the conversation would end exactly how it did. I told her the truth. Slowly, clearly. I watched her face drain of color, watched her try to interrupt, then stop herself. When I finished, the silence stretched. She started crying, quietly at first, then harder. She said it wasn't what I thought, that it was one mistake, that it happened at the conference, that she felt invisible and someone noticed her. The explanations came fast, overlapping, desperate. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask for details. I told her I'd already scheduled a consultation with a lawyer, that I'd be staying elsewhere for a while. She asked if we could fix it. I told her some things don't break loudly enough to be repaired. They just end. If you believe some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed, type enough in the comments. I packed a bag that night. Same calm efficiency I bring to everything important. Elizabeth followed me from room to room, apologizing, bargaining, rewriting history in real time. I listened, but I didn't engage. Not because I was strong, but because there was nothing left to say that would change the facts. At the door, she asked if I hated her. I told her no. Hate requires energy. I was past that. I left the key on the counter and walked out. The air outside felt sharper, cleaner, painful but honest. The days that followed were procedural. Tests, calls, paperwork. Friends I hadn't planned on telling, but did anyway. Some were shocked. Some weren't. Everyone had an opinion. I didn't need validation. I needed peace. Elizabeth tried to reach me. Messages, emails, voicemails that shifted from remorse to anger to self-pity. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but consistency. She'd already said everything that mattered through her choices. Weeks later, I ran into her by chance. She looked smaller, less certain. She asked how I was. I told her I was adjusting. That was true. Healing isn't dramatic. It's quiet, repetitive, and slow. She nodded like she understood. I wasn't sure she did. What I learned surprised me. Not about betrayal, but about clarity, about how the body sometimes knows before the mind is ready to admit it, about how love without respect becomes something hollow, and about how leaving doesn't always mean giving up. Sometimes it means stopping the damage. If this story reflects a reality you've lived or feared, share it thoughtfully with someone who values honesty over comfort. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because the silence almost kept me trapped, because trust, once broken this way, doesn't ask for negotiation, and because smiling returns from conferences aren't always good news. Final thought. If this story resonated, like the video, comment with one lesson you took from James's choice, and subscribe for stories that confront uncomfortable truths with clarity.